So this is going to be a really short lesson, but it's a really cool technique. So right now I'm still on the peak, but I'm inside of the mall and there's this really nice shot, but it's through glass. So we've been really lucky in Singapore and in Hong Kong. We've been shooting in open air environments. Even in this situation, I could just go to the top of the peak and get the shot without the glass, but I wanted to illustrate a really important concept. Sometimes when you go to cities, the best shot you can get is going to be through thick glass. And if you want that blue hour or that iconic night shot, you're going to have to deal with a lot of reflections, and you're going to have to be able to mitigate as many of those reflections as possible before you shoot. Now I have my camera framed up really close to the glass. Now it's at a 3/4 perspective because the skyline isn't directly through the glass, it's a little offset. So by tilting the camera to the right a little bit, I'm actually ending up with more reflections. Now take a look exactly what I mean. This shot is completely ridiculous and unusable. Not only do I have these crazy reflections, but I'm actually reflecting a billboard with two guys standing over a red background. It's absolutely horrible. So let's see the steps we can take to get rid of all those reflections. The first thing that I'm going to do is start with a polarizer. Now polarizers are really good for shooting through glass. They can get rid of a lot of the subtle reflections. So I'm going to put the polarizer on and I'm going to twist it and I'm going to see if I can get rid of some of these reflections. As you can see, as I'm turning this thing, that red billboard with the two guys on it starts to fade a little bit and the reflections shift towards a more neutral and centralized location. I think this is going to help just a little bit. So as you can see by the second shot, it's helped a little bit with the reflections, but this shot is still completely unusable. So the solution to this problem is actually quite simple. Now what I carry with me when I know I'm going to be shooting through glass is just a simple black t-shirt. And I like to call this black shirt technique. There are products you can buy that help you mitigate reflections around your lens, but this is a simple item that most people travel with. So it's something you may find yourself needing, and it's something that you know you'll always have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my camera to a 10-second timer. I'm going to initiate the timer, and then I'm going to try to block all the reflections using this black shirt. This is also another situation where it's a great thing to have an LCD screen on the back of your camera. I don't think I could hold this shirt out and look through the viewfinder at the same time, so I'm really going to rely on that LCD to show me if those reflections are gone or not. So basically, I'm going to initiate the timer here, which is a 10-second timer. It's going to give me plenty of time to actually use this, sort of wrap it around the camera, and I'm also going to use my arm a little bit. The tricky bit is I have to hold it. If I'm doing a 30-second exposure, I actually have to hold this position for 30 seconds. So at this point, you can hardly tell that I'm shooting through glass. There's only a tiny little bit of a reflection right left of center, and I think I can remove that with another attempt. But one last thing I'm going to do to make sure I have the most clarity through this glass as possible, I'm going to take my microfiber cloth and I'm going to wipe down all the areas that I'm looking through with the lens. Bear in mind with these locations that a lot of people are coming through here all day long and they're shooting through this glass, which means that they're putting their hands right up on it and it has smears all over it. So the first thing I like to do is find a location that has the least amount of thumbprints, and then I'm very careful to try to wipe as many of those off before I start to shoot. With a lot of the light coming from the city being very powerful light, you have reflections behind you, and then that light can actually cause a reflection off any smears. So sometimes when you're shooting, what you're mistaken as a reflection on the back of the glass is actually the light from a city or from the objects reflecting off of a smear on the glass. So be sure to clean it off. So now I'm going to have one more attempt. That last attempt was nearly perfect. I think I can get it all right this time. I just took another shot, and what I thought was a reflection on the glass is actually light emitting from the city. So I was actually able to mitigate all the reflections just using this simple black t-shirt. Bear in mind that this really isn't the best shot. In fact, if you are here in Hong Kong, just pay the money to go up top, have a completely open air deck to shoot from. You'd never actually be in a situation in this building where you'd want to shoot through this. But I wanted to make sure that we encountered a situation that I could show you how to shoot through glass and still get a good shot. This shot I'm not really happy with, so we're just going to take a look at the differences between the different shots with and without the reflections, but this is not something we're going to take into post. So we've been pretty lucky here in Hong Kong where we haven't had to shoot through glass. In Singapore as well, everything was open air environment, so it made it really easy for photographers. But there are some places in the world where you're going to find yourself needing to use these techniques, like Shanghai and Tokyo. Those are places where you're usually going to find yourself behind glass.